Good afternoon, faculty and staff. Thank you for joining me again for another Lunch with the Dietitian. My name is Cara Miller, and I am the district dietitian covering the state of Tennessee for Sodexo Universities. I'm just so excited to be here today talking about healthy holidays. And I know a lot of you have a busy schedule this time of year, so thank you for joining me. And for those of you who are joining later, watching the recording, thank you for doing that. So let's go ahead and get started. As mentioned, my name is Cara. I am the dietitian. Excuse me. This session is being recorded so that you can watch at a later date. If you have any peers or other faculty and staff who aren't able to join us today, make sure you pass along that recording. And then when I send out the invitation for the December session, which is coming up soon too, that one will have the recording on it. So everyone can always view the recording. It's on the YouTube channel as well. So after this session, I'll be posting to the YouTube channel. Again, we're going to be talking about healthy holidays today. They're right around the corner. I can't believe it's already November. That's so crazy to me. Make sure that if you do have insurance through the university or a wellness benefit, that you check with your HR to see if you can get credit for this session. So what we're going to talk about today is just kind of looking over our expectations, right? Like I think a lot of people are now aware that food is not just willpower, right? If we were just to like will our way through things, people would often make more healthy choices or maybe not, but I do think we may not have all this weight stigma and some of the like stresses that tend to come along with the holidays. So one of the things we can do is just check our expectations. We'll talk about that. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about today is the anti-diet approach. And you're like, Cara, what the heck is that? Well, today I'm actually not going to talk to you about, how to recipe substitute to decrease your calories. And some of you might be really disappointed by that, but I do think that there is more to it than just calories. So just kind of looking at it as at a little different angle, perhaps. And then we'll take quite a few different ways that you can really take a mindful attitude in trying to help our eating tips. Come February, so January, the first Wednesday in January tends to be like right after the new year and everyone even isn't back in session yet. So in February, we are going to cover like intuitive mindful eating. And then in December is going to be kind of healthy goals for the new year. So we will be covering some more of this in detail. And if you do like some of the stuff we talk about today, looking at hunger cues, how are you feeling, that kind of mindful intuitive eating process, we're going to go into a ton more detail for the February session. So that's something to definitely look forward to moving forward. So what is it, right? We're supposed to be joyous about the holidays, but they do tend to bring a lot of stress. So I just wanted to pull a couple of these. I thought they were kind of funny. Some of them may be a little too close to home, but hopefully you'll find them funny too. So a holiday miracle would be fitting into any of my clothes after the holidays, right? We're always, the society we live in even is just putting tons of pressure on us, making us feel really nervous about, oh my goodness, what's coming up for the holidays. Another one says it's a holiday season. Don't forget to set your scales back 10 pounds at midnight tonight. I thought that was kind of a funny one since this weekend is our fall back for our daylight savings. Brace yourselves. Holiday weight gain is coming. Like it's all this like fear factor, fear tactics, right? My jeans keep telling me no more Christmas cookies while my leggings are like, you got this, right? So lots of different things, lots of people getting nervous about what weight they might put on. Or even the pressure, right? Because we're seeing family and friends maybe we haven't seen now in a year or two, and that's really stressful. And so it's not uncommon for people leading up to the holidays to say like, okay, I can like crash diet for a couple of weeks. So maybe Uncle what's his name won't notice that I put on a couple pounds, or maybe, my mom won't be commenting on blank, or my sister-in-law won't say something about this. And so it is really common To kind of get nervous about the holidays, and also thinking about there's a lot of money stressors, there's schedule conflicts, you're running kids everywhere, maybe you're trying to get to grandkids Christmas programs, there's a lot of travel, there's a lot of hustle and bustle, there's a lot of family dynamics that we don't have to navigate on a daily basis, but maybe through these holidays, some of that stress, some of the past hurts, they can come up. And so even though we put this expectation on ourselves, like this is going to be so great, it's going to be awesome, we're going to be filled with joy, it's going to be an awesome season, that isn't always the reality. And part of it is starting to start now. Right after Halloween, a lot of people start to get kind of nervous about what the holidays might look like. So what is the truth anyway? They try to scare us with like all this, oh my gosh, you're going to gain so much weight over the holidays. There's so much junk food. There's so much overeating. But what is the reality? And the reality is that research is showing that Americans gain on average only about 1 pound during the entire holiday season from November to January. And just to kind of put that in perspective, normal weight fluctuation on a daily basis can go from anywhere from 1 to 5 pounds is pretty normal. To have fluid shifts, maybe you're dehydrated, if you've used the restroom, things like that can all affect our weight. And so just another reason to kind of not use the scale as are we being successful or not. There's a lot of other things that can go into it. And being that stress plays into some of those hormones even can make us kind of hold weight or kind of, adjust things that way. So what would be an anti-diet approach, right? We're flooded with all this weight culture stuff. Fit into this pair of jeans. There's even like the LaCroix can say something like innocent on it. It's like, oh my goodness, I don't think that our food has moral value, right? So kind of taking the opposite approach, all foods can fit, all foods can be included. And you're like, yeah, Cara, but you're a dietitian. I know even yesterday I was in the dining hall and someone came up to me and they kind of said, oh geez, don't look, I'm getting ice cream, right? And then a few minutes later, they're like, don't judge me, I got a brownie. I was like, oh my goodness, like I went trick-or-treating with my kids too. I love a Reese's peanut butter cup just like the best of them. So I really think that all foods can fit. And if you want to have 2 Oreos instead of 1, or like, not even put numbers on it, I don't think we should bog ourselves down about that. Like I said, food doesn't have a moral value or a moral compass to it. I think a lot of times we say hamburgers are bad, apples are good. But if you were stuck on an island and you only had apples or you only had hamburgers, neither would be sufficient. So variety is wonderful. Taste and flavors matter. Everything can fit into a nutritious plan. So kind of keep that in mind. And that is one of the reasons that I'm not going to talk strictly about substitutions today, because I have a few favorite recipes in our family. One from my Nana, there's a couple from other grandparents. And so I just think if we substituted a bunch of ingredients for that, it would no longer be my Nana's pie, right? And so it is one of those things that we only make a couple of times a year. So when I make it, I really want to make it well, and I want to enjoy it. I want to love it. I don't want it to be a healthy version just so I have one day where I'm not having my Nana's recipe. That just makes me feel sad. So all foods really, really can be included. Food does not define you. So again, kind of going back to that moral compass, foods you choose do not make us good, do not make us bad. I feel a lot of times, oh, I didn't have those cookies today, or oh, I only had 1 piece of candy today, I'm doing good, I'm doing good. Or, oh gosh, I had, 4 things, 5 things from my kids' Halloween bucket. Oh, it was a horrible day. Why? A lot of times we can look at it bigger than even just food. Maybe we're stressed. Maybe we're sleep deprived. Maybe we didn't drink enough water. Maybe we didn't move our body in a way that made us feel good. Maybe someone ticked us off that day and we're kind of taking it out on food. Maybe we actually wanted the extra portion, so we shouldn't feel guilty about that. Let's make sure we're supporting each other. And so that goes inside out and outside in, right? If you have a close family member that you're able to talk to before the holidays and kind of just tell them what's going on, like, hey, we're all in this together, I've noticed, like use notice language. Let's not judge. We don't need to comment on weight. We don't need to comment on sizes. I know others may comment, and that's on them. It's easier said than done, right? Of course. But it shouldn't really matter. Everyone has their own stuff going on. And so, you know, maybe somebody looks good on the outside, but they've really not got it going on the inside too. So it really does go both ways. So try to really get a hold of who's in your family. Are there some people that can support you? Maybe it is a spouse, maybe it's a sibling who you know you're going to meet up with and you always have a good chat with. Try to sit by them at the dinner table. Try to surround yourself by positive people so that if someone comments, you can say, hey, I knew Uncle blah, blah, blah was going to comment on this. Guess what he did? And then you can say, you know, not appropriate. And someone else can almost affirm you just a little bit, just so that you have a little bit better experience. Along with that, make sure you're moving. Moving our bodies makes us feel good. And this is not to burn calories. This is to move to feel better. So if you're getting on a bike to burn a certain amount of calories, you can have a certain piece of pie. That's not what I'm talking about. This is not something that should be like a reward system and in versus out, which doesn't even work that way anyway, not that well. So moving in a way that feels good. Is it yoga? Is it walking? Is it hiking? Is it something that you can, after you do it, you say, you know what? I feel refreshed. I feel regrounded. I feel like my stress levels are lower. I feel energized. And this is not so I can eat a piece of cake. This is for my overall well-being. And so this is not something that you should, you know, maybe it is you love a HIIT class. You love doing that high intensity workout because you get to meet up with your friends and you love to sweat and feel good doing it. Awesome, but it should not be about the calories. So how do we go about this? What does the holidays look like? Here's just a general setup, right? Visualize the day. There's a few things you can visualize. One, what's it going to look like? Who is going to comment on something? What are the expectations you're setting for yourself? Are you thinking Uncle so-and-so is not going to say something? That may be an unrealistic expectation. Maybe it's that you feel like you have to clean the entire house because people will judge you. Sometimes I've even had those conversations. I remember when we first got married, I thought, oh, I have to have everything clean. And then I just asked my mother-in-law, I was like, what is your expectation of me as a wife? And it was nothing to do with cleaning. I was very relieved by that. But just saying, you know, there may be some things that you have an expectation of yourself, but actually no one is holding you to that expectation. Or maybe it's a to-do list you have in your head, and actually no one knows what that to-do list is, so no one is holding you to that. So also don't hold yourself to that. But along with visualizing the day and what it looks like, you can help organize yourself a little bit. Okay, most of us have a routine. We're driving somewhere, we're making something, we're eating, then something happens, then we do the dishes, then right? So maybe while people are doing the dishes, this is a time you can kind of plan ahead and say, I think I might take a walk during that time. Or you know what, this is always kind of a down part of the day, so I'm just going to plan to sit outside and call my best friend just to catch up and see how her day is going. Just kind of plan something to help you out. The other thing that you can visualize is actually the food table, right? This might not be something you can visualize ahead of time, though sometimes you can. But when you get there, one of the things I always do, we see this in the dining hall all the time, right? Like you've maybe even done it yourselves. But like you start at the beginning of the line and you're like, oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks good too. Oh, I think I'll add a little of that. And then by the time you actually get to the thing you want, your plate is already totally full. So just kind of think about that. Okay, let's see. Is there a way that you can kind of like do a walk by, like, oh, that looks good. Oh, yeah, that looks good. Oh, that's where that is on the line. So that when you get your plate, you say, okay, let's do this right? Like, I love that, you know, sweet potato casserole at the end, but there's baked potatoes at the beginning. So I'm going to skip the baked potatoes because I really love that sweet potato casserole or whatever it is, right? But that way you're not loading up everything all on your plate. The other thing you can plan to do is like use a smaller plate or something just to help you kind of check in with yourself. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but there's lots of different things we can visualize throughout the day to help you out. Another one is, what is the purpose? Just kind of getting back to it, right? Thanksgiving is about giving thanks. It can be super stressful. It can be overwhelming, and we forget all about giving thanks, and we get stressed. Or maybe it's Christmas or some other holiday where it's like a religious holiday, or maybe you're celebrating a birthday. I know some people have like holiday birthdays. So what is the purpose? Are we actually doing that, or are we getting bogged down by other things? Sometimes the purpose is to be with family and friends, but we're so stressed, we're so caught up in our head that we forget to enjoy time with family and friends because we're too concerned about, what we look like or how we're reacting to things or what thing is stressing us out. So maybe it means you're going to wear something you feel really confident in. And it may not be what other people wear, or it may not be like the attire, but makes you feel really good. Maybe do that. Maybe it's remembering, like I said, to check in with a friend or a family member during the day to kind of just make sure you're de-stressing and kind of keeping the full focus. Maybe it's an activity you're going to plan with the whole family, not too high of expectations in case it doesn't turn out, but maybe it is something. I know this year my son is super excited. He's 4. He's planned this elaborate touch football game for Thanksgiving. So after we eat, we're all planning to go outside and do like a game of touch football. And he's like got down the colors and the boundaries and what everyone's going to wear and who everyone's going to be and what the team names are. So like involving other people in the process can really bring out the purpose as well. Enjoy the day. This kind of comes back to the purpose as well, but sometimes that means setting boundaries. And I'm not an expert at this. I'm a dietitian. I don't claim to know all things about psychology and counseling, but I do know that it can be helpful to set some boundaries. So if there is someone who tends to irk you the wrong way, maybe setting up a time with your counselor or with a family member to make a little bit of a plan. Maybe it's just expressing something in a kind way before the moment arises when things are not heated or escalated, so that you're able to kind of set some of those boundaries and be more ready for the day. But also be you, be confident. I'm a firm believer that God made you exactly who you are for a reason, and sometimes we don't even know what that is, but just try to remember that you have a purpose, you have a meaning, and you can really enjoy the day and enjoy your family. Big picture, think about this for a second. There's 21 meals in a week. If you go all out totally crazy for Thanksgiving lunch and dinner, that's only 2 meals throughout the whole week. So just kind of keep that in mind. Set realistic expectations. Yes, holidays happen almost every month, right? We've got Halloween, then Thanksgiving, then Christmas, then a birthday, then, Valentine's Day, whatever. But I do think it's a couple of meals a week or a couple of meals a month. And so just don't hold yourself to such a high expectation. I don't count calories, but just to put it in perspective, 1 pound is 3,500 calories. So if you have one extra piece of pie at Thanksgiving, it's probably 300-400 calories. It's not even a pound. So just don't bog yourself down and get overwhelmed. You can do this. There's this little student that I tutored in elementary school, and he was playing air hockey with a friend, and he was getting totally beat. And this little girl across the table was like in kindergarten, and he was in 3rd grade or something. And he was just so overwhelmed. He couldn't believe what was happening. Like, I'm getting schooled by this young girl. God, goodness me. And so he turns around and he's like, his name was Denaje. He's like, come on, Denaje, you can do this. And I just always remember that. Like, sometimes you need to give yourself a little pep talk. So if you need to take a little break from family to give yourself a little pep talk, make sure you do that. Okay, so now on to the nutrition. What are some real nutrition tips? So hydrate. Sometimes we forget to drink water, especially if you're traveling. If you're doing any air travel, you can lose 3 to 10 ounces of water just by 1 hour in an airplane. So if you have a 2-hour flight, that could easily be 1 pound of weight loss just from water weight, which means you're dehydrated. If you're dehydrated, you don't think as clearly, you're more easily agitated, you don't have as much energy, and all of those things are not good when you're already stressed already. So as a basic rule of thumb, take your weight in pounds, divide that number by 2, and that's roughly the ounces of water you should drink per day. For most people, that's actually more than 64 ounces. I know a lot of us are like, oh, 8 glasses, 64 ounces, but for many of us, it's actually more than that. You'll feel better. I think I mentioned, you'll have more energy. It doesn't give us calories, but it can make us more alert. It can help us be a little bit more clear thinking. It can help us feel more energized. And so making sure you're well hydrated can set you up well for the day. And that can also help you tune into your hunger cues. Our hunger and thirst are kind of right next to each other in the brain. It's very easy for us to get confused. Like, oh, I'm hungry. Eat a little something. Oh, that really didn't quite do it. I'll do this. That really didn't quite do it. I'll eat this. That really didn't quite do it either. Sometimes our body is trying to say like, hey, could you drink some water? I'm actually pretty thirsty here. And so if you're actually drinking plenty of water, then when you feel those hunger cues come on, then you know that you really need to eat something and honor that hunger cue. The other thing here is adding flavor. So water doesn't have to be boring. I know that I have been doing some infused waters in different dining halls lately, which is awesome. They usually are over ice. So one of my go-tos in the wintertime is a glass of hot water with either a slice of lemon or a little squeeze of lemon juice and either a cinnamon stick or just a sprinkle of cinnamon. It's almost like a warm lemonade and it's just so refreshing. Of course, you can do a tea. The coffees are fine too. Just, think about what are you adding to it? Is it a lot of caffeine? It doesn't dehydrate you as much as we once thought, but if you're just drinking coffee all day long, it's probably not a good thing. And you're also getting way too much caffeine. So maybe do, every other cup of decaf, maybe hot tea, maybe hot water. If you like the cold things, then do some of the infused waters. Maybe you're going to do something like a LaCroix. Maybe you just want to do plain old water. Whatever works for you. Find a water bottle that you also enjoy drinking out of and remember to keep it full and bring it with you. I mentioned hunger, and I think this is sometimes really confusing for us. And I do think this kind of comes back to that mindful practice. Do we trust our bodies? Our bodies give us signals all the time. Our brain helps us to identify what those are and implement a plan for what's next. But I think a lot of times we say, no, you're not hungry. Just drink some water. Or like, no, it's not time yet. You certainly can't be hungry. And so when we constantly tell our body like, no, you're not right. No, you're not right. We sometimes lose trust with our body. So I do think it's really important to kind of stay really in tune with what our body is saying and to kind of honor these hunger cues. So I pulled this little chart, kind of a 0 to 10 mindset, where 0 is like starving Marvin, you're super, super hungry. 10 is like Thanksgiving full, got to unbutton your pants kind of thing. And so what you want to do is try to eat somewhere between a 3 and a 7 so that you're not getting to super, super hungry or you're not getting to super, super full. So what are some ways that you can make sure you kind of stay in that category is to try to stick to 3 meals a day and maybe 1 or 2 snacks, just so that you're not skipping. Sometimes we say, I'm going to skip breakfast because I know I'm having a big lunch. That actually can backfire. You're going to be starving by the time you get to lunch. You might end up overeating or eating too quickly because you're so hungry that you're not staying in line with your hunger cues. So check in with yourself, right? Check in with yourself throughout the day, but also check in with yourself throughout the meal period. So that might mean taking a smaller plate, taking a few smaller portions, but if you're still hungry after, don't follow rules. We're not trying to say yeses and nos, goods and bads, follow the rules. We're trying to honor our hunger. So if you eat your small plate of food, you wait a few minutes, you check in with yourself like, am I still hungry? Yeah, actually, I am still hungry. Go back and get some more. Or, you know what? No, I'm not too hungry, but I would really just like one more bite of pie. That's a conscious decision as opposed to putting too much on your plate, being stressed and overwhelmed, scarfing it down, and later being like, oh my gosh, I didn't even taste that. Or, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize how much I ate. It is really important to stay in tune also with your taste. Over time, our taste buds are a little bit desensitized. And so really enjoy the food. Really concentrate on it. Do you like it or are you eating it because it's a habit? I know this is something I've worked on a lot over the last couple of years. If I don't like it, I don't require myself to eat it, which sometimes takes a conversation with Nana or whoever else is like, don't you like my food? But some of it is, right? Like if you don't love this certain food, don't eat it just to tell yourself you have to eat it. Kind of pay attention. What foods do you actually enjoy? Have a portion of them and really enjoy it and not be distracted, not having so many conversations that you can't taste your food and really savor it. Avoid grazing, and grazing is kind of that like mindless snacking all day long. A lot of us have, the different crackers and cheese for the holidays, or maybe it's like a bowl of like mixed nuts or trail mix. So like, are you constantly going by and just grabbing some? You may want to take a small plate or a little bowl and portion some up so that you're aware of how much you're having, so you can more easily check in with yourself and decide, do I want more? Do I not want more? If you find that you kind of stress eat and graze, you may even want to try a piece of gum. I know that seems really strange, but it's kind of hard to like snack on trail mix if you have gum in your mouth. So even just trying a little piece of gum, and then when you're ready to eat, of course, take it out, honor your hunger cues, and be able to eat and enjoy it. Take a deep breath. Too often we're too busy to even notice what's going on. Take time to take a deep breath, recenter yourself, refocus so that you're ready. And you can say, you know what, is so-and-so stressing me off and I'm stressing me out and I'm just ticked off, I'm just going to eat this anyway? Or is it actually like, no, I actually really do want to eat this. And then you can choose, right? Or actually, I'm feeling pretty full. I think I'm going to stop, instead of forcing it down to have the second or third portion because it's the expectation of Nana. So what should this plate look like? Half a plate of color, a quarter plate of carbohydrates and grains, and a quarter plate of protein. Now remember, Thanksgiving, Christmas are just a couple meals. So if your plate doesn't look like this, don't beat yourself up, but it can help you out. So if you fill half of your plate with color, it means you're getting more fiber. You're going to be more full. You're going to feel more satisfied. You're going to get lots of vitamins and minerals, even more hydration. A lot of our fruits and vegetables have extra water in them. So it is going to help us to feel more satisfied and also stay well hydrated. The protein should be about a quarter of the plate. Again, it helps to build our muscles. It helps to keep us full and satisfied. We have kind of like this funnel in our stomach, right? I've talked about that before, where we have these stomach juices in there in our funnel. So if you put in like something that turns to mush, like think about crackers, right? Crackers, chips, pretzels, cereal. If you leave them in milk or water too long, they get really mushy. So these are things that are going to slip through your funnel and not keep you super full. So kind of, again, paying attention to that. Are you grazing throughout the day? Kind of like one penny through a funnel at a time. It just goes right through. You're never filling up your funnel to create that stretch to tell your brain that you're full. It does also take 15 minutes or so for your stomach to tell your brain that you're full. So if you scarf down a dinner in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, then that is when later down the road you go, oh my gosh, I'm so full. I can't believe I ate all that. It's because you ate too quickly and your body didn't have time to tell your brain that you were full. So if you think about that, maybe it's the fruits and vegetables. You know, if you put green beans and turkey in a bowl of water, they just sit there, right? And you're like, oh, that's gross, Cara. Yeah, well, that's also going to monitor its own portion sizes. So people say, well, how much turkey should I have? Well, we say, you know, roughly the palm of your hand. But I think that you'll find if you eat too much more than that, you're actually going to feel it, right? Because it's going to stretch your stomach to tell you that you're full. As opposed to the mashed potatoes. Those are super mushy. They're going to slip right through. So those are things that you can watch the portion size of and check in with yourself and say, do I want some more? Am I feeling still hungry? As opposed to just waiting until you feel full for mashed potatoes, you may not feel super full. And so there too, mashed potatoes, crackers, pretzels, they're not off limits. It's just that you have to watch those portion sizes because your body is not as well. So that's another reason we stick to kind of this plate guide, so that the color and the protein help to keep you full. So that other quarter of the plate, when you have some of those more mushy calories or whatever, they are going to give you energy. They are going to help with gut health and fiber, especially if you include a few whole grains. And all of that helps really well to keep you full and be able to stay in tune with your hunger cues, as opposed to eating some of the smushy stuff and not really feeling super full, or maybe then down the road say like, oh my gosh, I'm totally stuffed, right back to that 0 to 10 hunger scale we talked about. Okay, so what do you think? I wanted you to kind of look at these two plates and say, which one do you think looks better? Which one do you think not healthier, whatever, like which one would you eat? And I don't know what you think, but I think they both look great. I actually think I would probably choose the one on the right just because it's more colorful. It looks a little bit more appealing to me. I actually don't like marshmallows on my sweet potatoes. I know you think I'm crazy, but I love mashed potatoes. I love gravy. So what I might do is combine these two plates. But you can see where I'm going here is that if you portion your plate with the plate method, this one, like we talked about here, half a plate of color, quarter plate of protein, quarter plate of carbs, it can still look really nice. You can still get in tons of great color, awesome food choices. Pick your favorites. Don't exclude them from the plate. But it can help you feel more full and satisfied. So make sure that you are trying to look at that kind of plate. And if you look at your plate and it's tan, brown, orange, like the one on the left here, you know that you're probably missing some color and fiber. And a lot of the foods on that plate, you may have to look at yourself because your stomach may not tell you as much that you're full. So I mentioned movement. I'm not going to focus on it, but I do want you to think about it a little bit. Whenever we move our body in a way that feels really good and is really energizing, it can decrease our stress and anxiety. It's always good to take a little bit of time to ourselves, especially when we take care of ourselves, we can take better care of others. So making sure that we recharge, refocus, even a little bit of movement can definitely boost our mood and our energy levels. It's crisp day out there today. That'll definitely wake you up and help you feel a little more energized. And even some of that movement can boost your confidence. You can just really feel your posture better when you're doing like a yoga or go out for a really nice walk. So walk with a friend is another good one. I plan to do that this year, go out for an early morning walk with one of my best neighbor friends, just so that we can kind of talk about the day and have that support and know that we're going into it together, even if our families aren't dining together. I know that I have support beyond family, but I love being with family too. So I'm looking forward to all the things holiday. And one of them that I am really looking forward to is kind of an example here, but I mentioned our touch football game. So get out there, move with your family. Maybe you want to get like the bag toss out. Maybe you want to throw the football around, kick around a soccer ball. Maybe get a baseball out, play t-ball, something like that. Or maybe it's just a card game, moving around the table, enjoying time with family. So making sure that you're doing something that you really enjoy. There's also a ton of kid things. So if you've got grandkids, there's like some great YouTube videos like this or that exercises, and they're really fun. Like you choose if you want to be a Disney princess or like, I don't know, the villain or something, and you move to that side of the screen, and then it gives you like a different exercise movement to do. So there's all kinds of fun things that involve music and entertainment, but that could be fun for you all and your kids or grandkids. Healthy recipes are great. I did not go into a ton of recipe substitutions, but I did want to give you some resources. These websites are wonderful, and I am going to post again. I did have in the chat some additional notes. So in the chat section for today's talk, I do have a copy of the slides, and I also have a copy of some of these websites and a link to the YouTube channel. So if you did want to share this recording with any of your peers, feel free to do that. I'm going to post it again in just a minute when I stop sharing my screen. So if you dropped in late, you'll be able to access those links as well. That's all I have for today. I thank you for joining me. I hope you're feeling a little bit more confident about the holidays, but I think just remembering that there's 21 meals in a week. Holidays are just a couple of them. On average, from November to February, the average American gains 1 pound, if that. So not to focus on it too much, but really focusing on de-stressing, making sure that we're moving our bodies, helping support ourselves, and also making nutrition fun and energizing. And maybe that means cooking with a family member, but not always substituting ingredients. Maybe you teach a grandchild how to make your Nana's favorite pumpkin pie. You know, I just think there are a lot of ways to really enjoy the holidays without feeling guilty about them, and not feeling super stressed about it, and realizing that you can trust yourself. You can trust your body, you can trust its hunger cues, and get back to that in a little bit better fashion. We do have our next talk December 1st. That's a Wednesday, and I am going to cover kind of some goal setting for the new year. I know there's a lot of fad diets, but I want you to have a really good approach to what might work for you. And we are going to take January off. And then in February, like I mentioned earlier, we are going to cover intuitive eating, which I've just really thoroughly enjoyed. It's flipped my nutrition brain upside down, because in school we are always taught calories in, calories out, eat this, not that, and realizing that even some of the research we may be potentially misinterpreting or just pulling different bits and pieces out and not looking at the whole picture, realizing that our bodies really know a lot. We just have to get back to trusting them instead of putting on all these food rules and diet culture goggles, which can skew our vision and kind of make us not trust ourselves. So I think that will be a really interesting talk as well. I'm really looking forward to it. So I am gonna stop sharing my screen so I can check the chat and repost those resources. And then if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer those too. All right. Any questions, you can type in the chat box, or if you want to raise your hand, I can unmute you. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. It's cool, crisp out there, but it is really nice. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday. I will see you December 1st.